hits another chord. Yeah. Oh, it's a bend. When he does a bend, that means he's really good. Especially when he's using like gauge 11 strings. Yeah. Not quite Josh Smith bends on a side gauge 15 string. But it's pretty good. Pretty good.
I was really having a moment there. And then I thought, what's that annoying noise? And it was you. Going,
Don't talk about Lizzie like that. That's really
Hey everyone, welcome to Chat TGR. I'm Dan.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joe.
And what we thought we would do today is we get asked all the time about wet dry. We wanted to actually set it up, take you through it, step by step, minute by minute.
Setup by setup.
That's right. And
Take
Frame
you
by
down
frame.
to the wet and dry city with the
Grass
grassy
is
green and then
girls are wet.
take.
oh dear. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, hi everyone.
Hello.
Hope
Hello.
you're awesome. Yes, Jake and Joe and Lizzie.
Hello.
Lizzie. Hope you're all wonderful. Who do we have on today, Lizzie?
We have lots of people. We have Todd Roy,
Todd Roy.
Dan Ottley,
Dan Otley.
Michael Giliberto, Scott
G'day,
Curry,
Scott Curry.
Neil Levine,
Levine.
Daniel Mincher. Afternoon, you lovely lot.
Daniel Mincher, yo.
Simon's on.
Hey,
Simone.
Emilio White. Hello all. Got back
Emilio
from Japan last week and visited the spots you suggested.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Heart of
One day, Jake, you and me.
Kikijoji was
Say
incredible.
Say that quickly 3 times, Lizzie.
That's the only time. Mark Siva, Zuta Laws, Adam Wakely, looking forward to the show today.
Yeah.
Thanks again for the conversation last week, Dan. Really enjoying doing the podcast edit at the moment.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Yes.
so lots of lovely people.
Yeah,
Hello,
fantastic.
everyone.
Yes, well, yeah, indeed. Hello and welcome. Oh, right. I'm going to try and get a bit more comfortable. This is surprisingly difficult. I don't understand why my light is going. You're going to give me a stroke. Why is that happening?
You just want it? Do you want it off?
Yeah.
Gav Thorpe has said, very curtainless, that board.
It is. Well, you'll be pleased to know that
Hold on.
Why is that?
I think he's got
the
some.
modesty curtain is on the way. So there we go. Anyway, right. So what we're going to do. This is a board that I set up yesterday, and it may well be my new board. I think so.
Better be. You got me to parrot for you earlier.
Yes.
Better be. It is, young man.
All right.
You're on a ban.
But what I wanted to do is take you through wet dry. So actually, Joe, I'll get you to just show everyone the board. So this is what I'm working with currently, just to show you the top. So I've gone back to the timeline as the main delay because why have I done that? I absolutely love the Otto machines, but I've actually got some gigs coming up where there's going to be quite a few members of the band, and I wanted to try and see what I could do about limiting how much real estate that I need. So this is a large single, so large pedal board, single tier, large width, single tier. On the top is the pedals I need to get to. So timeline, I've got the H9, the Red Wing, and the Reeve. This is the new Kingsley Reeve, which I'll be using today. And Joe, if you want to flick up the tier, or Jake, flick up the tier for us, and then you can see underneath, I've got the 89, the analog delay, and I just use that for a slapback for solos, my old Phase 90, the Hotcake. The Philosopher's Tone is in there as a space holder at the moment. But then I've also got the Dark Side of the Moon there, and that is by a DevTech Audio. My old Keeley Java Boost, which I've sort of rediscovered and fallen in love with again, and of course the Diamond Vibrato and the Tensor. So that's the pedals that are on the board. On the right-hand side, you see the power supply is underneath the tier. So one of the great things about the Gen X14 supply is that it's very thin and it fits underneath the tier. without getting in the way of any pedals and stuff.
Yeah, baby.
And on the right hand side, I've got a Synco, MIDI Synco, patch bay. So all the connections are on the right hand side. Yeah.
Oosh.
So shall we get into it? So Joe, if you want to just zoom in on the screen, and so that we can see what's going on.
Joe, you've become a cameraman.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Dude, I left you for like 10 minutes. That's my boy.
France was wild.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Joe was away in France last week.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Are we?
Going down mountains quick.
Are we or no?
I saw some footage of you going down mountains quick, but
On my back.
on your back and rolling and stuff. That was fun. Okay, so we use the term wet dry a lot. In the truest sense, it could be said that we use the term incorrectly. So we've coined the term TPS wet dry because it's what we use on the show all the time.
Right.
It is wet dry for all intents and purposes, but for now, it's just safer
Okay.
for all involved just to call it TPS wet dry. So
All about the copyrights and the trademark.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what does it mean? I've got a bunch of overdrive pedals. I've got 2 amplifiers. On my left, I have a little Princeton, and I was going to take photos of these all set up and give them to Lizzie so that she could show the people at home, but I haven't done that.
Just imagine a Princeton.
Imagine. So the Princeton on the left, and I'll get a little Black Star
HD5.
HD5. Is that a HD5?
I think so.
Okay. And that's on the right.
Just imagine.
So now one of the problems with doing this live on the Tuba View is that live streaming doesn't support stereo. So you're only going to hear this summed right down the middle. Now we've worked it out. We've made sure the amps are in phase, but yes, we've got 2 amplifiers connected so that you can hear them. Jack, if you can turn off Joe, if you can turn off number 2 for us. Actually, just go to number 1, my bypass sound. Turn off number 2, the output 2. All right, so this is the Princeton.
It's very regal.
Oh, it's
Regal.
amazing. I love it. All right, so turn off 1 and go to number 2. And this is the Black Star. I look deep into your eyes while I play
honestly,
my licks.
Doesn't it make you live when he does that? And he stops blinking. It's crazy.
All right,
Do you
so
stop breathing
Looked
as
into
well?
my soul.
now turn them both on again, please.
Get
Right.
hot in here.
So
guys.
here we go, both amps together.
You need to look at us both now.
No, I can't do it.
Oh, he's had a honey.
So both hands together. Joe, please flip the phase of output 2. So you should now be here 2 amps out of phase. And now back. That's it. So now 2 amps in phase.
Yeah.
So we've connected the 2 amps up on the output of G3. Can we see the loops here, or are we just looking at the screen?
We're mainly looking at the screen.
Okay, can you just point the camera
no, to be
down?
fair.
All right. So
Everyone but one.
the idea behind the top of the G3, and this is obviously the G3S because I've got screens, but this is a representation of my signal path. So the guitar goes into the input. I've got my pre-gain. I've got my loops here, post-gain, and then outputs 1 and 2. So that's all good. If I turn on an overdrive pedal, let's say I turn on the Reeve, that is now, see the little light turn on number 4, my guitar is going to go straight into the Reeve and then out of the amps 1 and 2. So you'll hear, the burping continues, you'll hear the Reeve now in both amplifiers. And just go to 1 for us. So that turns the reverb off. And 4, please, which turns the reverb on. So the first diagram, have you already had that up? Okay, so we go to the first diagram. So this is what we're looking at. This is a straight series signal path. Guitar goes in, it looks for a loop to go out, and then right at the end, it splits the signal and goes out to outputs 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. This is the pedal board that most of us have been rocking forever, and it's wonderful. Okay. Now, what happens when I throw a modulation effect in on top of that? So let's put the vibrato, and I've got the vibrato set up to quite an extreme setting so that you can really hear it. But Joe, if you wouldn't mind hitting 10 for me. So I've got the vibrato in on stomp box, which means I can just add it in on top of any preset. So actually, Joe, if we go to number 1, so it's on sticky stomp. So yeah, here's my clean sound. And here's the vibrato. Jake, can you turn the level down just a hair, please, to about 2 o'clock? So, I mean, I really like that sound.
Yeah.
If you let's turn the depth up a little bit and the speed down a little bit. Okay. And then, so you get like a... It's just a really cool, it's got loads of movement, loads of character.
Well, you end up in that like old VHS, old live recording.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Tape warble.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
It's
Vinyl warble.
and this is, I love my old Diamond vibrato. This is the new one, and it's wonderful. I read that guys have done a really wonderful job. So big shout out to the guys at Diamond.
Yeah.
Really loving the new versions of these pedals. But if you hold down the foot switch, it doubles the speed.
Oh,
on the
does
new
it?
one. Yeah, so if I go...
Oh, come on, that's cool.
Isn't that great?
And it's top mounted jacks, and it's smaller, and it's 9 volt.
It's like it's designed by someone who cares.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I'm a fan, which is why I've got this at the front here, because if I'm playing, and so just hold down the foot switch for us. Okay.
Yeah, that's wicked.
It's
Isn't that
really
great?
nice.
Yeah.
It's like really warm as well. There's like a real...
it uses, it's all analog, just, it's wicked.
You can, if you had it faster, you could have like a brrr and sort of kill the front row, couldn't you?
I could do,
Yeah.
but I choose not to.
Fair enough.
It just doesn't sound very wet dry.
No, it doesn't sound very
Chat.
wet dry.
Is all I'll say.
Right, so because we're
Guys.
not in wet dry at the moment, so this is if we go to the second image,
Yeah.
and so you can see here, all I've done is I've added the vibrato at the end of the signal path. So now if I put number 4 on, please, Joe, so you'll hear the overdrive going into the vibrato. So that's what this again, it's a straight series thing. It's the way that we've been using our pedals for ages. But what I love to do is what we call wet dry. So let's call the Diamond vibrato our wet effect, right? So vibrato is still a time-based effect. It's a very short delay, and we modulate the speed of the delay by modulating the time of the delay. So what I can do now in G3 is I can change the point at where we split the signal. So up until now, we've been splitting the signal right at the end of the chain after loop 12. So at this point, anything that we've put in the chain is going to go out to both amplifiers.
Yep.
So Lizzie, if you go to the third image, what we're going to do now, you'll see here, I'm actually going to split the signal before the vibrato. So you should be able to see the signal's going in through the overdrives, then it's splitting, and the vibrato is only going to go to one side of the amplifier. I've got 4 set up on a hidden preset, which is Reeve just with the parallel.
Go on, Blue
Right,
Peter.
so if I'm going to start with the guitar with in series, Joe's going to press number 4. We're going to go to wet dry. You'll hear it. Then I'm going to show you how we do it. Okay, so here we go. So one more time. Here we are in series. And now, wet dry.
So I'm into it being faster.
Okay, so
That's how babies are made.
this is true chorus. Let's think about the Roland JC120 stereo amplifier. And when you hear that, what you're hearing is vibrato in one speaker and your direct signal in the other. So in this mode, Joe, what I want you to do is turn off output 2 for us. So you hear the vibrato there.
There she is.
Turn on output 2 and turn off output 1. There's no vibrato.
Pure dry tone, baby.
Turn on output 1.
Oh, the wiggle's back.
Oh no, not the wiggle.
Right. Okay. So all we've done is we've changed where we are splitting the signal to before the wet effect. Joe,
Hello.
can you please show us how we do that? So if you want to zoom in on the screen.
Waiting a minute.
If you okay, you can undo the thing and straighten it up. Are you happy?
I think that's close enough.
Is that good?
Go closer.
Yeah,
You happy, Lizzie?
I think that's good.
Okay, right. So,
You look like a dad setting up a family photo, by the way.
I did totally look like a dad. It's cool.
right. So if you go to, go to a different preset. Go to Comp 5, for example, and just show us on the screen how that works. Let's start from the very top.
Yeah.
So if you come out of that and go to a preset.
Sure.
Actually, let's do it on the Reef. Let's do it on the
top one.
on the top one. Yep. So at the moment, this is set up to be just straight series.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do, this is a deep edit function. The button on the far left hand side of G3, like 90% of the buttons that we need are on the top. So when you can throw loops in and outputs, remote switches, they're all, the most used buttons are directly on top, so you can get at them in seconds. But there's a deep edit function here. So the little button on the left hand side, if you hit that, now we go into deep edit and we're in the menu. So scroll down, you've got name, you've got all the MIDI stuff, expression, loop order, stomp box, trails, parallel. So the way we set up the wet dry signal is in the parallel part of G3. So you'll see on buttons 1, 2, 3, 4, we have an up, down, left and right. And those are the foot switches and then the arrows that control when you're in the deep edit. So the first thing we want to do is have a look at where it says parallel control. This will either turn on or off the parallel in this preset. So you see it says disabled, So we're going to enable it. Let's head back. Phase setting. So this is interesting. Sometimes the pedal that you put in parallel might be out of phase. This corrects the phase, but we don't need to worry about that because this is all in phase. So the parallel start. When we go into this, it says loop split before. At the moment, it's saying split before loop 7. Our last overdrive stage in G3, I think in my new rig, is loop 4, which is the reeve. So what we're going to do, we're going to split directly after the reeve. So if the reeve is in loop 4, we want to split before loop 5. So we split before loop 5. That means that the signal is going to split, and then we can tell G3 which output we want the other effects to go to. Okay, so split before loop 5. Yep. Then let's go to parallel end. So one thing that we can do in G3 is that we can split the signal. We can tell it to go through, an overdrive on one side and a fuzz on the other, and then we can join the signal back up. But to do wet dry, we're sending 2 different signals to each amplifier. So when it says no join here on the screen, that means that once we've split the signal doesn't join back up, right? So no join, that's correct. That's what we want. And then parallel loops. So we've split the signal. And so we've now got 2 signals going across. If we turn on a loop that is now after the split, it's going to go to output 1. But if we want that loop to go to output 2, we put it in the parallel line. Mm-hmm. So you can see here on the screen where it says loop 5 out, loop 6 out, loop 7 out. I think the vibrato was in loop 7, is that correct? So this will be interesting actually, because in the first preset, the vibrato is going to be on one side, but in this preset, we're going to have it in the other amplifier. Great. So loop 7 in, perfect.
And like the logic to the in and out, just to explain it so it makes sense, is because it's in the split. That's why we let this labeled as in and out, not because a lot of people are like, why don't you put output 1 or output 2? But the idea is we've got the split, and that is in the split, so it goes to output 2.
In parallel,
out
of parallel is the idea.
Exactly, because you can join afterwards. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so having it output 1 and output 2 makes no sense if you're joining the signal
Summing
afterwards.
back to just output 1.
Exactly, exactly.
In the split.
Exactly. So then if we go now back to the rest of the parallel, is that it? Is that everything? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you'll hear... Right, so what will happen now, because also under each foot switch, you have the ability to turn on a hidden preset. So like, for example, I would have the reeve on number 4, but I would hit it again to turn on the solo sound using that with pre and post gain. But if we, Joe will flip-flop between the 4 and the hidden preset, and you'll hear it's swapping sides. So... Wicked. Yeah. Wicked. Okay. So that is wet dry.
W/D.
So the other thing that we can do just for obviously at the moment we've got the vibrato on, but this is one thing I wanted to show you, which is it's like super cool. Turn the vibrato off for us for a second. So here is the reeve again. Now, let's turn the phaser on. This is really interesting.
Right.
Now listen to what happens to the amplifiers.
There's nothing on the...
Sorry, okay. Hit the phaser.
What,
Oh, no.
There you go.
There you go. So if you turn on output 1 for us, I think the phaser is in 6. Jake, sorry. Can you turn the phaser on? Here we go. Live streaming. There we go.
The magic of live telly. Just so you can see under there, I'll hold that up.
Right, beautiful. Okay. So if we turn off and then turn off 4 as well.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay, and hit stop box. Okay, right. So this is really interesting. My phaser is out of phase, right? The direct signal is out of phase.
Oh, interesting.
So if I just have a normal, like hit 1 for me. So here's my clean sound. And then when I turn the phaser on, it's beautiful because such a great sound. It's beautiful because what happens is, and so Lizzie, if we can go back to the second diagram, please.
Yep.
Right, so let's just change the vibrato with the phaser. What's happening is my signal is going into the phaser and then it's splitting afterwards. So it doesn't matter if the phaser flips the phase or not, because it's after the phaser is when it gets split. So both amplifiers are receiving the out of phase signal. So therefore, the amplifiers are in phase.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
But what happens now, if you go back to the Reeve and listen to what happens when you add the phaser in. You hear how the sound just got tiny?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Right? So if we go back into the phaser preset, right, now what we're going to do, we're going to turn on the phase flip on output 2. That's it.
Oh, I couldn't see the.
That's it. It's on.
Couldn't see the light.
Right. And then put that back in the stop
Now
box.
I see the light.
Right. So yeah, back to there. And now what happens when we put the phaser on?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sick.
Still thick. Still got that low end.
Yep. And if you hit the phaser again. So what's happening there at the same time when I hit the phaser, it's flipping the phase on output 2.
Wicked.
So when you're using wet dry with G3, you can correct for modulation pedals that are out of phase.
That's wicked.
It's really great.
That's really cool.
Right. The last thing, and a question that we've been asked a lot, is what happens with stereo pedals when you're doing wet dry. So I love this. The last couple of boards I've always had a stereo pedal on the end. And I'm doing the same with the timeline. So if we've just got the Reeve at the moment, and Jake, if you hit the delay for me. Oh, sorry, Joe, hit the delay for me. Whoever you are, just hit the delay for me.
We're interchangeable.
Can you hit the, I think it's on A, hit B for me? No. No. What you can do, that little button there, go on to pattern delay for me.
Wait.
Hey, welcome to live streaming. Live. Okay.
Any questions, Lilybet?
We do have a question.
There we go. Okay.
All right.
Right, so I'll just do this and then we're going to get into
cool.
questions. So you can hear now, I've got a stereo delay. And it's ping-ponging left and right.
Yeah.
So what happens now, if we go to the last diagram, Lizzie, you can see I'm splitting the signal. I'm going to go through the vibrato, but then the vibrato is going to go through one side of the delay and the direct signal is going to go through the other.
Oh, interesting.
Sure.
Right? So here's a dirty sound with stereo delay. And if you hit the vibrato,
That's super interesting because it's true chorus
Yep.
and then stereo delay. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So there we go.
This isn't your first rodeo, is it?
It isn't. But these are the things that, like, when we were designing G3, because it's so much, with all this stuff, it's so much further ahead than G2. It's like, okay, if we're going to do this and, spend all the money to create the new switcher, there are things that it needs to be able to do. And this was one of them.
Yeah.
So built-in wet dry and, being able to use stereo effects as well. So if you think about it, because all stereo really is having an effect on either side of the parallel.
Yeah.
If you think of a stereo effect as two separate effects, so putting one on one side and one on the other, that's all it is.
Well, because we have two ears.
That's right. That is correct.
That's where it comes from.
That is correct. Okay, Lizzie, you can mute those amp mics for us. There we go.
Mute
right.
the rock.
I think I got all the points there. Lizzie, did you understand what was going on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can do that now.
And so when we get a phone call like tomorrow, I'm passing the phone over to you. I hope you realise.
And now it's Lizzie's turn.
So next up, Lizzie's going to demonstrate to you how she's going to set up a wet dry sound. Awesome. Okay, stressful. So let's answer some questions.
Yeah, I'm just going to start with one that's not actually about this. It's Michael Hecker. I'm really sorry. He's having an issue with a TGR pedal and he's been struggling to get hold of Mission about it. So I will contact you directly, Michael, and we'll get you sorted. But I'm very sorry.
So it's been a mission to contact Mission.
You could say. Peter.
Was that a dab?
Please don't find me.
Peter Verver has asked, Dan, why do you have the comp after the drive? Is the standard not before the drives?
It's only there as a space saver. If Jake, if you could just lift the...
I'ma flip your lid.
And if you can zoom out on the camera so
I'ma
we can
flip your
see.
lid. I have gone and flipped your lid.
Right. The compressor is actually after the fuzz. In loop 1, I have a treble booster. In the auxiliary loop, I have the treble booster because I never want that after a buffer. The pre-gain buffer in G3 is sensational. But the really cool thing with the auxiliary is that it is a send and return, TRS send and return. So if you have pedals like Germanium fuzzes or Germanium treble boosters that don't like the buffer, you can put that in the tuner auxiliary loop. This Dark Side of the Moon fuzz, which is in loop 1, is actually not too bad with buffers. They've done a really good job of designing it so it works. I wouldn't normally include a buffer with that anyway, but in case there's a buffer on and I kick it in, it actually works fine. It's the following loop 2, where I put my compressor. And I actually like a compressor after the fuzz because I don't want to put a buffered signal into the fuzz, but I actually like compression after fuzz for certain things.
Cool. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but it is before my drive section. I'll just quickly show you, though, the treble booster into the Harlot. So if you...
Harlot?
Sorry, the treble boost, no, into the Reeve.
So Reeves.
So if we just do us a favour and turn the vibrato off and leave the delay on.
Bit of the sauce.
And then just press loop 1 for us.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that sounds wicked.
It is.
Yeah, that sounds wicked.
The best.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't suppose you remember to turn the mutes off on those microphones.
I did.
You did? Oh, she's so good.
Honestly.
She's so good. Yeah, so that's where that compressor is. We can close up that now.
I'ma close your lid, Daniel. Close your lid. I have closed your lid.
Thank you.
Okay.
No problem.
How do you get your
We've got a
bass from Jeff Lappy?
question. Sorry. We've got a question from Ghazi. For wet, dry, wet,
man.
would it make sense to have 2 lower headroom amps for a left and right, like Princeton reverbs, and a higher headroom coming through the centre?
No, it's actually the opposite. You want 2 higher headroom amplifiers for the left and right and a lower headroom amplifier for the centre. And I'll tell you why. Everything that we've just done, you can, of course, do in stereo. There is another feature in G3 that we've already been through, which is the parallel times 4, which gives you 10 separate signal path lines, and you can do true parallel stacking of kill dry signals. If you want to do wet, dry, wet, where the outside 2 amplifiers are wet only and the center amplifier is truly dry, you can do that as well. As it is, we can do straight, stereo with a wet, dry, wet with a dry amp in the center. But you want the outside left and right amplifiers to have the headroom so that you can hear your wet effects. If you, I really love flanger, phaser, vibrato. That's my 3. I have to have them on my board, otherwise I just don't have my sound. Got the Red Wing, got my old Phase 90 and the Diamond Vibrato. I'm a very happy chappy. But if I was running those into like a champ, absolutely cranked, I'm not hearing all of the lovely complexity that these pedals have. It would make me sad. So I want my wet signals to go into amplifiers that have more clarity. If my champ, however, has got my guitar signal pretty straight and dry and it's doing its thing, that mixed on top of your wet amplifier with clarity is the most glorious thing. A great example is my dear friend Phil X. When he's playing with Bon Jovi, he has his Friedman custom signature 100-watt behemoth of an amplifier. And on top of that, he puts his little Greer.
Yeah, maybe you tell me the story,
Yeah.
And it's like an 8-inch speaker, 5 watts or something. And he was telling me when he first did it, and the sound guy was like, what on earth are you doing with that? And the Greer has no clean tone. It is just like...
balls to the wall.
And he says, okay. And he's got the sound guy, puts 2 mics on it, and he gets them both going, and Phil gets his sound, and it's epic. Now Phil says to the front of the house guy, okay, now turn off the Greer. Turns it off, and this thing was just caved out of it. And the sound guy was like...
Well, it makes me think of Queens. Always using bass amps and then using tiny little amps. So loads of headroom.
There's a headroom, and there's the fizz.
Headroom,
I think that's when we were talking about the Josh Homme, New Decade. I think that's when you told me about the story about Phil X.
But it's all the same idea, isn't it?
It's all the same
smaller
idea.
amp with no headroom on purpose, super saturated, and then the bigger amp with actual dynamics.
Yeah.
Did Stephen Wilson do a similar thing?
No, Stephen's, with the time that I've been helping him out.
I remember that he had a small Hughes and Kettner.
Yeah. Oh.
Right?
So, okay, here's the story with that. When we were... I forget which tour we were getting ready for. I sound like I was in the band. I was just helping out Stephen to get some sounds together for it. And one of the amps he was using, he used quite a lot on that album, was the still Hughes and Kettner solid state thing. And he normally uses live. He has his Bad Cat, which sounds absolutely amazing. And he's like, what pedal can I use that's going to give me the sound of this? And I'm like, just use that. And it's like, really? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just, use that in conjunction with the... But what he ended up doing, because instead of just switching between that and the Bad Cat, he just leave it on with the Bad Cat. It just added an element.
Yeah.
More is more.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if it sounds good, that's the end of the discussion.
100%.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Yeah, wicked. Back in the room, boys.
We've got a question from Richard. Can I use a Mr. Universe to power an isolator as long as I don't exceed the 100 milliamp capacity?
Absolutely.
Totally.
It's a really great way to do it.
I did that earlier this week on a board. I ran the whole board at 24 volts because the chap had one of the Laney Tom Quayle things.
Oh, yes.
Really hungry.
2.5 amps, 24 volts.
Yeah, so I ran that off a distributor.
You could either power that or a clothes dryer.
Yeah, literally. And then used the Mr. Universe to bring it down to 9 volts to run that isolator.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And from Ian, does Dan think that non-wet dry rigs are the equivalent of pulling guard?
Very good.
Is that sports?
Very good. No, is that sports?
Is that
it's
sports?
Jiu-jitsu.
I was like, what am I walking into?
No.
Cuddle you, Mr. Mono Man.
No, it's not. That's not the equivalent. No.
You're going to need to explain this to
I like
everyone
F1,
else.
green flag.
Yeah, sports,
Okay.
goal hold.
Flag.
Well,
Lance
so
Stroll.
pulling guard is in jiu-jitsu stuff. It's basically when your opponent, you basically jump up and wrap your legs around the opponent, and you're pulling guard.
Should we do
We
it?
pull
we're not
guard.
going to.
We pull guard all the time.
So, and you wouldn't do it in a street fight,
Yeah.
right?
Sure,
It's like a purely jiu-jitsu thing.
Yeah, we
right?
don't pull guard then.
So, but yeah, no. Like if you're plugged into an AC30 direct and crank, that is not pulling guard. That is Gracie Combatives 101. Pulling guard is more like what's the stuff you guys use?
No. An AC30.
So what are you talking
and
about?
a Princeton.
So what are you talking about?
No.
There's 2 of us and 1 of you.
And
do it.
We'll pull guards.
I don't know who Paul is, but I don't like him.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah. No.
No. No.
Okay.
No.
From Teleblaster.
Teleblaster. Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Dan, how do you get around the H9 having no analog dry-through with wet dry?
Okay.
He pulls guard.
Great question.
Is that like pulling guard?
No, it's not.
Ian has also said, sorry.
It can be a bit like pulling guard, but the main job of the H9, so the H9 is my Swiss Army knife, right? That's Swiss Army knife, so like...
Got the blade up. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
right. Sorry, it's just my...
That's right. So the main job of the H9 is my Swiss Army knife, but I only ever use it in kill dry. I use it for harmonies. So what I will do is I will split the signal before it. My main guitar sound will go through the matchless or the high watt or Princeton or whatever. And then the harmonized guitar with no direct signal goes to the other amplifier. So you have, and it's interesting because there's this, the latency is like a delay on
Right.
for the second for the harmony.
Oh, interesting.
Is it?
So it's like a guys can't quite keep up with me. So yeah, but the other thing, I mean, I can use it if there's a. There are some sounds in that thing that are amazing. Some of the reverb algorithms are incredible. Now, there's no reverb pedal on my board. I just use spring reverbs. I use the reverbs in the amplifier. But in the high watt or the matchless, I use my Carl Martin headroom.
Oh, cool.
And I've got the remote switches in G3 are switching the headroom from the normal to the higher, because there's 2 lots of controls on them. But if there's something where I just need an epic, with the H9.
Yeah, the DSP
all the
crazy
DSP,
thing, yeah.
Then I can put it in that. I can kill dry and I can mix it in with the dry signal through G3. I've done a video on using the H9 in doing wet dry with the H9 in kill dry, and it is powerful for those moments because I've got it all hooked up to MIDI. So don't forget, G3 is sending MIDI messages to the timeline, the H9, and the tensor. So yeah, I set it up with kill dry, and it's fabulous.
Bang in.
Excellent. From Emilio, planning on getting a G3 with one of your new pedal boards. Woohoo.
Awesome.
Just deciding on which one to get. Will the Dunlop Mini Expression fit at the front next to the G3 without the need for the wah riser?
On what size board?
If you have a G, so this is the large. So you'd need the large if you want a G3 and the expression pedal. But yes,
It's upstairs. I know you're looking for one. We do have one that's upstairs. And we've locked the door.
It
and
will
stuff.
fit, but it's quite close.
okay,
So if you've got small feet like me, you're fine. If
Right.
you've got like boats like this guy,
okay.
you might be.
But
a
if
bit-
you're,
size 12s.
but it will fit. If
It will
you're-
fit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So it will fit. Here's the good news, Emilio. The board that you order will come with the wire riser and the wire wall.
Gasp.
So it's not an optional extra. It's
I'm so sorry.
followed
it comes
by
with it.
dramatic
Here's
gasp.
the reason. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I want the expression pedal on the board, or I want the wire pedal on the board. The next week, I don't want expression pedals or wire pedals on the board. I just want the tier, and I'll have those off the board. I don't want to have to order these optional extras. It's like, no, we're going to include that because we change our minds all the time. I want to give you guys the option to when you want to put your wire on the board, no problem. Here's the shorter tier. Here's your wire riser. Here's your wire wall. Go to town. So that's all included.
And that I do really like, if I may say, that it can go on the left or the right, because all our images,
can
it's on
go
one
on the
side.
left
but
or
it
the
can go
right.
either.
On the left or the right.
Scott Curry, is the Red Wing only on the wet side?
Is the Red Wing only on the wet side? So I generally have the Red Wing mixed 100%. So I use the two delay lines going into one amplifier, dry into the other.
Wicked.
That's how I use that. Yeah.
That's all our main questions at the moment. If
Okay,
anyone else
great.
wants to
It's
throw
10
any
2
more
and we've
in.
got through all the
I
questions.
know.
Amazing.
That's crazy.
BV, just to say, massive.
We love you, BV.
Thank you to
for
BV. What a
everything.
superhuman.
Baby.
Yes. Yeah, awesome. I think I'm really digging this setup. I'm digging it for two reasons. I still really like the timeline.
It's one of those pedals that the whole time I've known you, which has been a long time now, 12 years? You have constantly gone back to the timeline, like every time.
Can I show you something really interesting?
Always
with the
go back to
timeline?
it.
Turn the delay off for a second. At the moment, I've got it set up to be.
You
Right.
want to lay me like that? Or you
Yeah,
want
no, sorry. What I want you to do is turn the mix level all the way down.
1 second.
Right. So that is the timeline is on my guitar signal. If we turn the treble booster, turn off loop one for us. Right. So my guitar signal is now going through the timeline, right, with no effect. Now turn the loop off. No. There, that's it. Back on. What the guys at Strymon got right, thank you, Joe. What the guys at Strymon got right was their analog drive-through.
Yeah, it's no change.
And scene.
And scene. Yes, the analog drive-through is flipping wonderful on the timeline, so that and they understood that.
And let's be fair, how old is the timeline now?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually.
I will Google.
You Google
Like,
it, see
they
when
got
the
it
timeline
right.
was released.
They got it
really
right
did.
before
I
anyone
have
else.
never done. So this was the first year of release. I've never done an update on it. I don't want to touch it. It's got.
I want to look at it.
It's got. It's enough of looking at that.
Smell it.
But I've got there's sounds in that I used on the two Tin Spirits albums that I couldn't get with anything else.
Do you know what year?
I have the answer.
Yes.
Let's give me guesses, gentlemen.
Okay.
And you, Lizzie, I guess you've probably got a burning answer.
I'm going to say 15 years ago.
I want a year.
I can't work that
I
out.
can't do math backward.
Nor can I.
I'm going to say 2012.
Okay.
I'm going to say 2010.
Lily bet?
2008.
2011.
Imagine if I got that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I was sitting my
That is wild,
GCSEs.
though, right?
It was a big year.
That is wild. Like,
Deciding what college I'm going to go
14
to.
years
that is
old.
incredible that
Yeah.
a 14-year-old pedal is still better, arguably, contextually, than a lot of pedals that are now being released.
Well,
They just got it right.
So they got a number of things very right. One of the biggest things is the UI.
The UI, I still
For
talk
sure.
about.
Genius.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
still talk. I genuinely think those original, the timeline, the Big Sky, and the Mobius, the UI is like
Masterclass on how to
beautiful.
Yeah.
do it.
It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
good.
It's wonderful.
I've
And
just
so-
got-
14 years.
Sorry, just a couple of quick questions,
Yes.
if that's okay. From Tyler G, any future colours in regards to the boards, pedal boards?
Absolutely. Why not? We'll do custom runs.
Can we do one with your face on it?
No, I won't be doing that.
We have the Metalwork people's email. I just
Yeah.
want to remind you that, Joe.
But yeah, we'll do some just one-off custom colors. We can do that. I've actually talked to our Metalwork guys about that the other day, and they're great. They're actually, bless them, they've been so great.
They have. Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they have.
So great, and they've. Thank you, everyone. Your reaction to the pedal boards has just been
Yeah.
Unreal.
so wonderful. Did an interview today with Guitarist magazine talking about the boards.
Really cool.
And they were like, they look amazing, and so
Wicked.
we'll see them in a Guitarist magazine soon. But yeah,
Ooh, exciting.
yeah, it's really cool. It's very cool, and so we're very grateful that you have all seen the value in all the endless hours that have gone into it. So appreciate it. Thank you.
And from Ghazi, we've got wet, dry, wet, or just wet, dry for live situations. I've asked Joe about this, but I'm curious to know everyone
Wet, dry.
else's thoughts.
So here's why wet dry for live. I'm pretty sure that while you guys are watching this, you can't hear it left and right. You're only hearing mono. Why this works is in a wet, dry situation, your sound guy can put everything straight down the middle. And so why is that important? Stereo live is tricky. It just is. It sounds amazing, and a stereo wet dry wet rig is the most fun I've ever had playing. Like setting this all up properly, with all the with the kill dry and everything in parallel. I mean, it's.
I think of that first Ed O'Brien rig that we did in the old place. I think of that with the 3 amps, and I feel like my hair was blown back and my
it was
eyebrows
incredible.
fell off.
Yeah, just incredible.
Yeah.
The issue is that you become a contextual nightmare for your sound guy.
Yeah. Agreed.
Where do you pan things? Here is why wet dry works brilliantly. What happens with my wet dry sound? I've got 2 amps next to me, and if the venue is really full, I might,
Bit more
get my
fast.
sound on stage. I'll get myself really happy. But with the sound guy, if the venue's really full, he might want a bit more wet in the front of house. But if it's a barn, he might want to bring the wet down and put a bit more dry in. So he has control over the presence of your guitar. It doesn't change for you. You get your sound set up wet, dry with as much fun as you want. But for the sound guy, having those options, and it's really, really cool.
And like diming and clarity as well. If you're doing something super ambient and your actual guitar sound is getting lost, front of house has the ability to be like, here's the guitar.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. Plus, loading in with 3 amps, like, I feel like...
A legend? You feel like a legend?
I would feel tired already.
That's,
Another question?
yep.
Emilio, Dipped in Tone podcast was talking about their modern classics, and the timeline was there for them. What's your guys' modern classics? Is post Y2K still modern?
Very, very good question.
Pedals, it doesn't count because there are timeless pedals that are like 1 million years old. That are still
I think so.
like a CE1.
This is part of the question we had today. I think the mood is a timeless classic.
Tensor.
The Tensor, absolutely. I think everything on this board is a timeless classic, to be honest with you. But if you're thinking of a new pedal that has become a timeless classic, I think the Mood is right up there. I think
Yeah, I think that's a great answer.
it was a step change for lots of guitar players who could just plug into something and just make beautiful noise and get inspired and have fun
Yeah.
without having to. I think it forced a lot of people into the moment,
Yeah,
that
Sure.
pedal, and I love that. And I've heard some really amazing music made with it. So I think that's a massive, massive tip of the hat to Chase Bliss.
That's a great answer.
Awesome stuff. But there's a bunch of Timeline, absolutely.
For me, it would have to be the Origin Cali 76 bass.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Game changing.
That completely
Yeah.
changed the game.
Yeah.
Digitech Whammy?
Whammy, for sure. I'd even say the Zoya.
I was going to say the Zoya, but I thought it was a bit predictable for
No,
me to
it's
say
not.
the Zoya.
No, because again, that changed the game. When
Yeah.
that came out,
Yeah.
is so far ahead of what other things were able to do as far as the flexibility. So if you were happy just to nerd out, you could deconstruct your favorite effects and build them component by component digitally in a pedal.
It's almost like that's what I do every day. Honestly, Empress, like completely, that pedal changed my life in the most.
Yeah,
Mad way.
They've sold over 10,000 of those.
I know.
It's wonderful.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm so pleased.
Do you think we're far off on a Zoya 2?
I
with analog graphic.
am terrified that they're going to that they're going to release a Zoya 2 and it's going to be like, you know, £10,000 or something.
Well, they did the Mark II
Compressor and
Mood.
EQ.
and
Yeah, the
with
comp's
stereo
wicked.
stuff, but the originals are still worth really good money. You know, but you know what I mean? The Mark II came out, it didn't decimate the
sure,
original
sure.
Mood because people
like-
still use them, people still get amazing
Yeah.
sounds out of
Yeah.
them. So I wouldn't be worried about that.
Be like when the
I
Enzo
wouldn't be
X
surprised.
came out and I kept sighing, you'll be the same. Just go,
I think instead of sighing, I'm going to be crying.
yeah.
Right, it is. We are at the end.
Oh, okay, right
Oh,
there.
my
There we
word.
go.
Yeah, that went really fast.
Holy moly.
So
I hope that was. I really hope that answered some questions. But of course, if you do have any other questions, please email in support@thegigrid.com and we will do everything we possibly can to help you out. Thank you, linesman. Thank you, ball boys. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you
Next
same bat time, same bat channel.
Thursday.
Oh, that was one thing I was going to say. A couple of questions about daylight savings. Normal time next week for like the States and everyone, but the week after, we'll make sure we give you a heads up. 'cause
Okay.
it's going to change.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. I'm going to play us out. I want this.
What do you
I want
want?
the sound with the troll booster on, and turn the delay thing up.
Let's go, baby. It's the end of the show. Yeah, now there's a bit of delay. Baby.
what's
the
happening?
devil's music.
Drop D.
The devil's music.
Okay, I'm going to press the button now.
Let's go. Howdy.